Hello, Emmy. As you already know, I'm going to give you feedback on our latest assignment. I have read through your text and chosen to mark different parts with either a green color or a red color. The word or section marked red are the ones I think are wrong and you have to change. The ones marked with green are suggestions from my side and parts where you have to elaborate. I will talk about your text one paragraph at a time and give you feedback on grammar, structure, and content, both good and bad. At the end of the feedback, I will give you a to-do list on things that I think you should do to complete the assignment and hopefully get a VG. So far you have written 3 paragraphs, and I would like to start with the first one. I think it has a good topic sentence and that it goes well together with the rest of the paragraph. It catches the reader's attention. But you mentioned that words can have different meaning in a different language. I understand what you mean, but could you perhaps give an example on a word that has different meaning in another language? Since you talk about the word sex, you could perhaps mention that in the Swedish language, the word can also mean the number 6. This would make the topic sentence a bit more clear. I would also like you to look over the second sentence, because I'm not totally sure what you want to say with that. It might just be me not understanding, but have another look to make sure that it's clear. Over to the ending sentence, which I think is a perfect end to a perfect introduction. The introduction gave me a clear understanding on what the text will cover. Before moving over to the second paragraph, I want to mention that you used the word important. I think I remember from one of our lessons that we talked about not using those words, since that is your opinion and should not be used because it can influence the readers. But I'm not totally sure about that, but think about it. The second paragraph also has a good topic sentence, but I noticed that you tend to use a lot of words for the female and male sex. You start with the words woman and man and later change to the word male. It looks as if you are a bit unorganized, so you should decide which of the words you want to use and stick to them for the rest of the text. Male, female, or man, woman. I have red marked the word can't here. You should write cannot instead to make it more formal. You also tend to use apostrophes for some of the words, but not all of them. This has the same problem as I mentioned earlier. Choose one way of writing and use that. I have marked these 2 problems throughout the text so that they are easier for you to find. Moving on, you should not mention the journal in this way, in brackets, the year is written. When you mention the professors, are you sure that they are actually professors? If not, you should avoid doing that since it might be incorrect. The quote you have here, I am not saying that is wrong, but just make sure that you have presented it in the right way according to APA. My final opinion on this paragraph is the last words, which I have marked with a green color. Could you perhaps rewrite it since it just looks a bit repetitive? In the third and final paragraph, you once again mention the professors. As I said earlier, make sure that you use the right term, and if not, avoid the word. Further on, I want to give you a suggestion. I do not mean that the word sex is wrong, but it would perhaps look a bit more professional if you use the word sexual relations. Just a suggestion so you do what you want with that. Here you have a small misspelling, performed instead of performed. Here is another of my opinions, which you can choose to ignore if you want to. But the question here, were the 2 having sex or not, seems a bit simple to me. See if there is a way for you to make it sound a bit more formal. After that, I think you have a grammatical error. Shouldn't it be made by instead of made of? Have another look at that one. Later in the text, I found a part which I myself think is very hard. You mention here a survey from 1991 and refer to the people who hasn't carried out the survey. I think that is incorrect and that you have to find the survey in itself and refer to Sanders and Rainage instead. In the next sentence, you write the word you. Who are you? Be a bit clearer if you can. Overall, I think the paragraphs are interesting and the content is clear. You have also used a few cohesive markers, which is good, but in the second paragraph, is that a bit too long? Have another look at that one. So, this is my to-do list to you. The first point, which is quite obvious, is that your text is not complete. To complete it, you need to present your opinions and write a conclusion. I feel like the last sentence in your text is a start for your opinion and it looks promising. I also noticed that you only refer to one article and you need to refer to one more to get a higher grade. I suggest you search for an article which covered the same subject which you have already presented. When you write more in your text, try to use a bigger variation of words since you tend to use the same ones a lot and it feels like you repeat yourself. When you proofread your text before submitting the final version, you should make sure that the famous S is where it should be. This is common for a lot of people, so just look one more time that you haven't written she look or they looks. Also make sure that your sentences are clear, that they actually say what you want them to say, simply to make sure your text has clarity. So, well done so far, and I hope this was useful for your final version.